I wasn't supposed to talk to her. Just hold the door, nod, and keep moving. That's what I told myself when I saw her. Sitting there in the shade of that rented tent, legs folded in the wheelchair like they'd forgotten how to belong to her. Everyone else walked past like she was part of the furniture. Or worse, like she wasn't there at all. I hadn't planned on attending the wedding. My 5-year-old daughter, Nora, was the flower girl, and her mom bailed last minute. I was just the ride and the snack handler. I didn't own a suit that fit, just clean jeans and a button-down with a coffee stain I'd scrubbed too hard. Still, I figured I could keep to myself. Until I saw her. Evelyn March, the CEO's daughter. The one everyone whispers about, then stops whispering the second you get too close. I only knew her name because Nora had asked about the lady in the chair with the silver hair and sad eyes. I told her gently to wave hello. Nora did. Evelyn smiled, small, barely there. That should have been the end of it. But then, during the reception, the playlist turned to something slow and old. The kind of music that asks people to press close and forget the rest of the room. And that's when I saw it. Evelyn's hand lifted off the armrest. Shaky, like she had to think her way through the motion. She wasn't asking for help. She wasn't even asking to dance. She was just reaching. Couldn't not walk over. Mind some company? I asked, crouching beside her so she didn't have to look up at me. Her eyes flicked to the side. I think people would mind enough for both of us. Her voice was older than mine. Not in age, but weight. It had been carrying something for a long time. I'm pretty used to people minding, I said, and nodded toward my daughter, who was now face deep in a slice of cake twice her head. She threw a tantrum in the car because I combed her hair wrong. Evelyn smiled, just barely. I was that kind of girl once, she said. Fierce, loud, always ruining nice things. You still seem like that kind of woman. Her eyebrows lifted. Not insulted, just surprised. There was a pause then, but not an awkward one. More like we both realized we'd said too much too soon, and neither of us wanted to take it back. You don't even know me, she said. I shrugged. You don't look away from people like they do. That counts for something. Someone bumped into the back of my shoulder. Evelyn flinched like it had happened to her body. Not mine. Her hand dropped. I didn't mean to catch it. But I did. Warm, dry, deliberate, even in its tremble. I haven't touched anyone in 4 years, she said. Not accusing. Not broken. Just quiet. I didn't let go. We both looked at our hands like they belonged to someone else. I should have said something smart, something that made this moment make sense. But all that came out was, your nails are chipped. I stopped painting them after the accident. They'd look better in red. A pause. Then, softer, would you help me? I looked up. That was it. That was the moment. Because her voice didn't mean the nails. Not really. And my breath caught in my chest, because I didn't know what she meant. Only that I'd already said yes. She asked if I'd help her paint her nails. Sounded small. Stupid, even. But when Evelyn said it, her voice had that thin crack in the middle, the kind people get when they're asking for more than they can explain out loud. So I nodded. We sat on the edge of the garden wall behind the tent, where the music turned to muffled bass and the string lights looked like they were breathing. Someone had left a tiny bottle of cherry red polish near the catering trays, probably meant for the bridesmaids. She spotted it first. I picked it up. Her left hand lay still in her lap. The right, the one she'd reached with, rested between us on the brick. I turned the bottle in my fingers. She didn't look at me. Not directly. You sure? I asked. I wouldn't have asked if I wasn't. There was a bite in her voice now. Test, maybe, to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. But inside I was all nerves. Because this felt like one of those moments you couldn't come back from. The kind that plants something quiet between two people and grows when you're not looking. She lifted her right hand slowly. The effort showed in the way her shoulder pulled back too far, like her body wasn't working in sync. I held my palm out underneath, steadying her wrist like it was made of glass. I wasn't supposed to touch her like that, not because of the chair, not even because of who she was, but because she wasn't mine to touch. Evelyn March. Everyone knew the name. Her family name paid for 3 hospitals in the state and half the wine at this wedding. She was the kind of woman who wore silk and silence like armor. She looked at people like she'd already seen through their excuses. And here I was, a single dad with paint under my fingernails from fixing my kid's toy kitchen last night. A guy who mowed his neighbor's lawn for rent forgiveness. And yet, she let me hold her. I unscrewed the bottle and tried not to breathe too loud. Her nails were short, square-tipped, neat even now. I noticed a small crescent scar under her thumb. It looked old, white and soft, like it belonged to someone else's hand. She noticed me staring. "Horseback riding," she murmured. I blinked. "Sorry." The scar. When I was 16, I thought I could train this gelding myself. He disagreed. She smirked, for real this time, cracked something open in me, like she wasn't just the quiet woman people avoided. She was funny, maybe even reckless, once. "You still ride?" I asked. She went quiet. "No," she said finally. "Not since." She didn't finish. Didn't have to. I painted her first nail in silence. "I used to be very independent," she added. "That's the part no one talks about. Not the pain or the chair or the surgeries. It's that everyone stopped expecting me to do anything. Like being broken means being excused." Her words hit deeper than she knew. I thought about Nora, about how people gave me points for just showing up with her, when really I was just making it up every day. "I see you," I said, barely above a whisper. She looked at me, not startled, more like grateful, or scared, or both. I moved to the next nail, slower now. "Most people are just uncomfortable," she said. "They think ignoring me is kinder than asking anything real. I'm not most people." I noticed. The polish brush trembled just a little in my hand. Not because I was nervous. No, because I was nervous. Because this was starting to feel like something real, and that was the dangerous part. I could feel her eyes on me again. Then she said, softer, "Will you stay a little longer?" I looked up. She was already reaching out, just the edge of her fingers brushing my forearm, light as breath. I didn't answer right away, because the part of me that wanted to say yes was getting louder than the part that remembered all the reasons I shouldn't. She hadn't let go of my arm yet, and I hadn't moved either. We sat like that, both pretending we weren't leaning toward each other in that too-quiet garden corner. The red polish was drying on her nails, but neither of us cared anymore. Her hand was still on me, barely, just her fingertips pressing against the fabric of my sleeve, like she was holding onto something invisible, something slipping. I should have made a joke, stepped back, said something about the weather or my kid or the time. Instead, I asked, "Did it happen recently?" She looked confused for half a second. Then her expression softened. "The accident," I added quieter. "Was it recent?" Her eyes dropped. Her lips pressed together like she was holding back a sigh that would take too much out of her. 3 years ago," she said, "I was supposed to meet my fiancé's parents that night. I didn't speak, just let the word sit there. Fiancé. He didn't come to the hospital," she added. That landed harder than anything else. I felt something twist behind my ribs. Not pity. No, not that. Something sharper. Something like knowing. "Did he even call?" I asked, instantly regretting it. She shook her head. "Left a voicemail with my sister. Said he couldn't handle seeing me like that. Like I'd become something unseeable." My jaw clenched. She didn't say it bitterly. That was the worst part. No anger, Just that numb, practiced flatness of someone who's told the story too many times, because no one ever knows how to respond. I see you, I said again. I didn't mean to repeat it, but I did, because I meant it more this time. She looked up, fast. Then, without thinking, she reached again. Her hand slipped into mine. Her fingers curled slowly, not with confidence, but with deliberate choice. My throat went tight. I could smell her perfume now, not floral, not powdery, just something warm and quiet, like sandalwood or old pages. She wore it like armor. Her eyes searched mine. I don't know what I'm doing, she said, but I don't want you to go yet. And just like that, I forgot every reason I should. Forgot that she was older, that she was Evelyn March, that she was everything I wasn't. Forgot about my daughter sleeping off cake in the car. Forgot about the 1,000 polite lines people like us weren't supposed to cross. I leaned in without realizing it. Our faces were inches apart. Then buzz, my phone, in my back pocket. I didn't move. Neither did she. The second buzz hit harder. Ignore it, she said, but her hand had tensed in mine. I let go first. The cold hit immediately, like stepping out of a bath. I stood too quickly. The phone felt heavier than it should as I pulled it out. Unknown number. Probably Nora's babysitter, or worse, her mother, suddenly remembering her weekend rights. I didn't answer, just let it go to voicemail. When I looked back, Evelyn had wheeled herself back slightly, putting space between us. Too much space. I should probably check on my daughter, I said. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. She nodded slowly, but something had changed. Not closed exactly, just folded away. As I turned to go, her voice stopped me. You don't have to lie to make this easier. I paused. Lie about what? She didn't look at me this time. Just said, that you weren't about to kiss me. I didn't answer, because she was right. And now the question hung in the air between us, pulsing louder than the music inside. Were we going to stop? Or was that just the last second before we didn't? I told myself I wouldn't come back. I sat in the car with the engine running, hands on the wheel, the voicemail from Nora's mom playing for the third time. Something about switching weekends and needing her back early, but my brain barely registered the words. Because my body had already decided, pulled me out of the car, back toward the garden, back to her. I found Evelyn still by the wall, the polish dry on her nails now, her hands folded in her lap like they were waiting for something, or someone. She didn't look up when I stepped into view. I forgot my jacket, I said. Her eyes flicked to my chest. You're wearing it. I didn't smile. Neither did she. We stared at each other for too long. The night around us felt thinner now, like something could snap if either of us breathed too deeply. I'm not used to this, I said finally, to not knowing what I'm supposed to do. She turned slightly in her chair. Then don't do what you're supposed to. I ran a hand through my hair. I'm not good at this. Being seen. That made her laugh soft, short, more exhale than sound. You think I am? Her voice cracked just slightly on the last word. And that was it. That crack opened something. I haven't touched anyone in 4 years, she'd said earlier. I hadn't let myself think about what that meant. Not just physically, but all of it. No one reaching for her hand in the dark. No one brushing her hair behind her ear. No one asking if she made it home safe. No one loving her with eyes open. I keep trying to convince myself this isn't happening, I said. That we didn't almost... Did we? She cut in. I stopped. Her eyes were steady now. Not challenging, just real. Did we almost kiss? She asked again, quieter. Or did we just think about it? I stepped closer, still too far to touch, but close enough that I could see the faint line between her brows, like she was bracing for something she couldn't name. I wanted to, I said. Honest. Quiet. No room left to hide. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then whispered, I haven't wanted anything in a long time. A silence pressed between us. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Thick with the kind of tension that made the skin behind your neck buzz. I took one step closer. She didn't move. Tell me to leave, I said. I will. She looked up at me. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Instead, her hand twitched in her lap. Not quite a reach, but not neutral either. I dropped to one knee beside her, slow, like approaching a wild thing that might run if you move too fast. I have a daughter, I said. She's all I've got, and I still want this. I don't even know what this is. Evelyn's voice was barely audible. I don't know what I'm allowed to want anymore. We were close now, closer than before. Nothing between us but breath. And then a rustle behind us. Footsteps. A voice called out faintly from across the yard. Someone looking for her. Her name echoing, distant but getting closer. She didn't break eye contact. Neither did I. And then she asked, in a voice that didn't shake this time, if I say stay, will you? I didn't answer. Not yet. The silence that followed held everything. Everything we couldn't say. Everything we were about to. I didn't get to answer her. Not before a woman in a navy dress and heels came around the hedge, calling, Evelyn! Her tone was too bright, polished, for show. Evelyn stiffened. I stood up fast. Brushing invisible dirt off my knees like that would undo anything. The woman clocked me instantly, then Evelyn, then our distance. Oh, she said, just a little too sharp. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't, Evelyn said flatly. Is the wedding over? They're doing toasts. Your father wants you inside. Evelyn didn't move. Not right away. The woman glanced at me again. I could feel her filing me away in that quick, quiet way people do when they assume you're beneath the scene you've walked into. I'll come in when I'm ready, Evelyn added. The woman's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I'll let him know. When she was gone, Evelyn exhaled, long and quiet. She's my cousin. One of the helpful ones. I raised a brow. Helpful. The ones who pretend I'm the same, so they can feel good about ignoring what's changed. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't, until she added, out of nowhere, You sent me a card. I blinked. What? Evelyn turned her head slightly, watching me with that unreadable softness she wore like a second skin. After the accident, the hospital had a board of get-well cards in the hallway. Most were from board members, clients, people my father paid. But one, just one, was handwritten. Sloppy print. Red marker. Said something like, You don't know me, but I hope you walk again. And even if you don't, I hope you still laugh. I froze. That was you, she said. My mouth went dry. I was interning at the hospital, I said slowly. Just for a summer. My brother was in recovery back then. I pass your floor every day. I didn't even know your name. Evelyn stared. I read that card every night for a month. I swallowed hard. You kept it. I memorized it. Silence. Sharp. Charged. She looked away then, as if suddenly unsure whether this made things worse or too much. It was stupid, she said quickly. I didn't even know you. It felt different. Like someone saw me without needing to. I didn't expect you to remember. I didn't expect you to be you. The distance between us felt heavier now. Not just emotional, time was in it. History neither of us had realized we shared. My voice came out quiet. If I'd known... No, she cut in gently. Don't ruin it. We just looked at each other, like we were standing on opposite edges of the same truth. Then her voice dropped. I thought about you. My heart kicked sideways. Not your face, she continued, but that message. That kind of person. The kind who shows up. Who doesn't look away. She bit her lip. And now you're here. And I don't know what to do with that. I took a step toward her again. Not fast. Just enough. You don't have to do anything. But the moment was already shifting. Slipping. Because behind us the tent crowd clapped. Loud. Toasts were ending. Then another voice. Nora's. Small. Sleepy. Dad. I turned. She was rubbing her eyes. Messy curls stuck to her cheek. Barefoot on the grass. Where'd you go? I crouched instinctively. Hey, sweetheart. I didn't finish. Because when I looked back at Evelyn, something had changed in her expression. She wasn't pulling away. She was watching. Not Nora me. The way I scooped her up. The way her arms wrapped around my neck. And I realized this was the first time Evelyn had seen me as a dad. Not a man hovering near the edge of her loneliness. And now she was the one caught off guard. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then finally asked, "Is there any part of your life that doesn't already belong to someone else?" That question stayed in the air like smoke. And I didn't know if it was a warning or an invitation. Nora fell asleep again in the back seat, her hand still clutching the corner of her dress like she hadn't finished whatever dream she was working on. I stood at the edge of the parking lot, Evelyn just a few feet away in the dark. Her wheels crunched softly over the gravel as she moved closer, but didn't come all the way. That question she'd asked still hung between us. Is there any part of your life that doesn't already belong to someone else? I hadn't answered. Not then. Not yet. Now the silence between us felt different. Not sharp. Just tired. Evelyn was the one to speak first. I wasn't trying to make you feel guilty. I know. It's just, I'm used to being someone people want when they have time. When their lives aren't too full. I let that sink in. You're not a side note, I said. Her gaze dropped, like she didn't quite believe me. I took a breath. Then another. I've spent the last 5 years trying to do everything right. For Nora. For court dates and school forms and the neighbors who think I'm still too young to be a father. Evelyn looked up. And somewhere in all that, I continued. I convinced myself I didn't get to want things anymore. Not really. Her expression softened, but her shoulders stayed tight. And now? She asked. I want you. Her eyes flickered. But I held up a hand, voice shaking a little. I'm not going to ask you to wait around while I figure out how to balance a world I already barely hold together. That wouldn't be fair to you. You think I want fair? She said. And it hit hard. Not loud, just honest. I want real. We both looked at each other like we were standing on the edge of something jagged and high. Neither of us sure if we were supposed to jump or just wave goodbye. She wheeled forward. Close enough for me to see the faint crease between her brows. The one that only showed up when she was holding something back. I don't want to be your escape, she said. I want to be something that stays. That word did something to me. Stay. Not fix. Not save. Stay. I crouched in front of her again. Same way I had the night before, but this time slower. More deliberate. I looked her in the eyes. You already are. She blinked fast, once, then again. And I reached out, not for her hand, but the side of her face. My thumb brushed just beneath her cheekbone. She didn't flinch, didn't pull away. Her hand came up and rested lightly on my wrist. Her fingers curled just slightly, strong this time. I don't need all of you right now, she whispered. But don't give me almost. I've had too many almosts. I nodded. I'm not walking away. Promise. Not the kind I'll break. The music from the tent was faint now. The night smelled like cut grass and leftover champagne. My daughter slept with cake on her cheek and no idea that her dad had just said something he'd been too scared to want until now. And Evelyn, she smiled. A small, quiet thing. Like she finally believed me. 3 months later, she met me at the park. Same spot where Nora liked to feed the ducks and pretend the pond was a castle moat. Evelyn sat near the edge of the paved path, her coat wrapped tight across her lap, hair tucked into a knit beanie, cheeks pink from the cold. She didn't look like someone trying to be invisible anymore. She looked like someone who had decided to show up, even if it still scared her. Nora ran ahead, squealing with her bag of torn bread slices, and I trailed behind carrying coffee and a scarf she'd dropped without noticing. Evelyn smiled at me in that way she had, like she was still learning how, like every emotion in her came with a little resistance, a little risk. I handed her the coffee. "Still too sweet," she said, sipping. "Still better than nothing," I replied. We sat for a while, not saying much, just watching Nora boss the ducks around like a tiny dictator. Evelyn glanced over at me, her voice soft. "I told my father I wasn't coming back to the company." I turned toward her. "Seriously?" She nodded. "He told me I was throwing away everything I'd built. I told him I wasn't built for his kind of life anymore." "Was that hard?" She looked back toward the water. "Harder than the wheelchair? Easier than staying invisible?" I nodded. "So what now?" I asked. She shrugged, but there was a lightness in it. "I think I want to teach, or write, or do something that doesn't involve champagne fundraisers and fake smiles. Maybe even volunteer with spinal rehab programs." She looked at me then, really looked, "And maybe see where this goes. This meaning us." I didn't answer with words. I just reached over and took her hand, easily now, like it belonged in mine. Because it did. Things didn't get easier overnight. Her world and mine didn't fit neatly together. Mine full of daycare runs and second-hand furniture. Her still tangled in boardroom expectations and whispers from people who didn't understand. But we figured it out. We figured out how to exist in each other's days. Some nights she stayed late on my porch, letting Nora brush glitter polish on her nails and demand bedtime stories. Other nights, she called me just to sit in silence over the phone, just to be heard, just to be reminded she wasn't alone. One night, when Nora was asleep on the couch between us, Evelyn whispered, "I don't feel broken when I'm here," and I knew what she meant, because I didn't feel like a screw-up dad anymore. I didn't feel like a man who had nothing left to offer. She saw me, and I stayed. People think love is some kind of lightning strike. But real love, the kind that lasts, it's quiet. It's asking, "Are you okay?" without needing a yes. It's holding someone's hand while they tremble. It's painting their nails, one stroke at a time, when no one else remembers they liked red. Staying, when staying feels like the hardest thing in the world.